Take a look. This is Mark. He studies for less than 40 minutes. Mark gets a full 8 hours of sleep, still has time for coffee, and plays sports with friends. But his grades? Always in the top 5% of his class. Mark spends most of his review time doing practice tests from previous years and patiently explaining complex concepts to his still confused friends. And this is Alan. Alan studies for over 4 hours consecutively every night. He cuts back on sleep, his eyes are dark and puffy. He rarely goes out. But ironically, Alan still struggles to maintain a B average. Alan drowns himself in dozens of colorful notes. He rereads the textbook for hours on end, muttering, "Must remember, must remember." But the knowledge, like sand, just slips through his fingers. So what is the cruel difference between Mark and Alan? It's not intelligence, it's not hard work. Clearly, Alan looks more diligent. And it's definitely not luck. It's how they study. Now, stop for a second. Be honest. How would you rate your study method on a scale of 1 to 10? A 5, 7, or maybe a 9? Write that number down, or just keep it in your head. Later, after watching this video, I bet you'll want to regrade yourself immediately. It all started one night I'll never forget. 11th grade. My desk was littered with energy drink cans and cold coffee cups. My notebook was filled with text highlighted in blue, red, purple, yellow. It looked like an abstract painting. It was 3 a.m. I had been grinding for 12 hours straight to study for a biology exam. I thought I was doing everything right. Beautiful notes? Check. Reread the book until the pages were worn? Check. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. And it was. On that exam, I failed miserably. After that night, I changed everything. Not because I got smarter overnight, but because it forced me to realize a harsh truth. I had no idea how to study effectively. Have you ever fallen into this trap? Your textbook is covered in highlights. It looks pretty, but your brain isn't retaining anything. You reread a paragraph until you've memorized it, but when you close the book, you can't summarize the main idea. You write pages of notes, take a picture to post on your story to show off how hard you're studying, but in the end, you remember nothing. The problem is, we often mistake effort for progress. We confuse fluency, familiarity, with mastery. When you reread a chapter for the 5th time, it feels easy. You think, oh, I get it now. But that's just your brain recognizing the words, not understanding the concept. This phenomenon is scientifically known as the productivity illusion. You know, when you're busy choosing the perfect highlighter color or making a lo-fi chill study playlist, but your mind is completely blank, that's a sign you're lost. No one teaches us this in school. Teachers just say, go home and study chapter 5, or sit and study for 2 more hours. But studying isn't about sitting for a long time. Studying long does not mean studying deep. Working hard doesn't mean working smart. And that's exactly why, no matter how many hours you put in, if your method is wrong, the result will still be 0. The game-changing formula. MC. This is what's called the consumption trap. We think that consuming information, reading more, watching more videos, listening to more lectures, will make us smarter. But what's the truth? Our brain isn't a photocopier machine. It doesn't just print everything it reads into memory. It's more like a stomach. If you stuff it with too much, too fast, it can't digest any of it. I discovered a formula, and it changed everything. Knowledge learned equals study time, retention rate. Simple, right? This means for the same amount of knowledge, if you want to decrease your study time, you must increase your retention rate. For example, Alan studies for 5 hours, but because he studies passively, rereading, highlighting, his retention rate is only 10%. Actual effective study time, 5 hours times 10% equals 30 minutes. Mark studies for 1 hour, but because he studies actively, doing problems, self-testing, his retention rate is 50%. Actual effective study time, 1 hour times 1% equals 30 minutes. See, both of them achieved the same amount of effective studying. But Mark saved 4 hours to sleep, watch a movie, or study for another hour and be twice as effective as Alan. This means it's not the number of hours that matters, but how you study during that time. The good news for you is this can be completely changed. Ever since I cut back on my study time, my grades have gotten so much better. I used to study like a zombie, sitting, rereading, highlighting, making pretty notes. After the test, I'd forget everything. Then I switched to active learning. Instead of rereading the book, I did practice problems. Instead of rereading the theory, I taught it to a friend. Instead of copying everything, I constantly tested myself on what I could remember. The result? My retention rate jumped from 10% to 60 to 70%. Passive learning is like pouring water into a strainer. You keep pouring and pouring, but nothing stays in. Active learning is patching the strainer first, so the knowledge stays in longer. From then on, my study time was cut in half, but my grades shot up from 6.7 to 9.10 consistently. Passive learning makes you feel like you're being productive, but active learning is what actually helps you make progress. Mark's 6 secrets to study less, remember more. Right now, you're probably thinking, easy for you to say, but how do I actually study less and remember more? Don't worry. Here are the 6 exact methods that Mark and later me applied. This is a detailed plan you can try tonight. Secret 1. Break your time. The Pomodoro technique. Never try to study for 3-4 hours straight. Your brain can't maintain deep focus for that long. Instead, break your study time into small chunks. This is called the Pomodoro technique. Study for 30 minutes or 45-60 if you have good focus. Then force yourself to take a 5-10 minute break. Stand up, walk around, drink water, look out the window. Do not scroll TikTok or Facebook. That will just make your brain more tired. Between these sessions, your brain has time to process and organize the information. This is when the knowledge actually sinks in. Secret 2. Test yourself before you study, pre-testing. Sounds weird, right? Most of us study first, then take a test. But try the opposite. Before you open the book to read chapter 5, take a blank piece of paper and try to write down everything you think you know about the topic. Or try to do the end of chapter problems first. Of course, you'll get most of it wrong, but that doesn't matter. This act of struggling will prime your brain. It tells your brain, this is the important information I need to find. When you finally start reading, your brain will automatically catch those answers much faster. Secret 3. Teach it to someone else. The Feynman technique. This is Mark's favorite secret. If you want to truly understand a concept, try to explain it to someone else. This is called the Feynman technique. Take a piece of paper, write the name of the concept, e.g., derivatives. Write out an explanation of that concept in the simplest language possible, as if you were teaching a 5-year-old. No complex jargon. You will immediately realize where you get stuck. That is your knowledge gap. Go back to your notes, figure out that part, then come back and rewrite the explanation until it's smooth. If you have no one to teach, talk to a mirror or just say it out loud. The act of outputting knowledge is always 10 times more effective than inputting it. Secret 4. Torture your brain. Active recall. This is the most important part. Instead of just rereading your notes, passive, you must force your brain to pull the information out. This feels harder, but it's like weightlifting for your brain. Every time you struggle to recall a piece of information, the neural pathway to that information gets stronger. How to do it? Flashcards, but not just for vocabulary. One side, a question. What were the causes of the Cold War? Other side, the answer. Cover and recite. Read a paragraph, cover it, and try to say the main idea out loud. Do practice problems. This is why Mark always does practice tests. It's the ultimate form of active recall. Secret 5. Don't just learn. Connect. Elaboration. Don't learn facts in isolation. Our brain remembers things by connecting them. When you learn something new, ask yourself, how does this relate to something I already know? Where can I see an example of this in real life? For example, if you're learning about gravity in physics, connect it to why an apple falls or why the moon orbits the Earth. If you're learning about inflation in economics, connect it to why your bowl of pho this morning cost more. The more connections, the harder it is to forget. Secret 6. Hack your sleep. Sleep consolidation. Finally, a very simple secret. Mark gets enough sleep. Alan doesn't. Research shows that the brain consolidates and saves memories when we sleep. Cramming all night is the fastest way to forget everything. Pro tip: before you go to bed, spend 5–10 minutes just scanning, not studying, the main points you learned that day. When you sleep, your brain will automatically tag that information as important and strengthen it. The next morning, you'll find you remember it much longer. And that's it. 6 steps. Sounds easy, right? Just apply these methods and you'll find studying becomes easier and your grades will still be sky high. Now, let's go back to the number you gave your study habits at the beginning. You rated it a 5? A 7? Do you still think it deserves that score? Or have you realized you've been an Allen all this time? If the answer is no, then congratulations. You are ready to level up. You see, studying smart isn't about studying more, it's about studying right. But knowing the method is one thing. How do you turn it into a long-term habit? How do you beat procrastination? That's when I found this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book helped me understand that success doesn't come from a single burst of effort, like my 12-hour biology cram session, but from tiny changes repeated every day. Instead of relying on willpower, I have to study for 5 hours today, I built a system for automatic studying. Instead of I have to study biology, my goal was do 5 active recall questions for biology. Instead of I have to study for 3 hours, I set a Pomodoro timer for 30 minutes. These tiny habits helped me learn faster, remember longer, without so much effort. If you want to study more effectively without studying more, this is a book you can't miss. Remember, you don't have to be smarter, you just have to study smarter. Don't be Alan, be Mark. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to try one of these 6 methods and tell me your results in the comments. See you in the next video.